Hello friends, today I would like to share an interesting strategy exercise. This position is taken from one of my students' games, where white seems to enjoy this advantage of having a protected pass pawn on d6. This prevents the mobility of black's pieces, as some of them just have to babysit the pawn from moving forward. White is very happy here, however, black has a counter punch, which will give them a much better position. We need to see at least two good moves in a row here for black. Perhaps you would like to pause the video and solve it yourself. And so black can develop the initiative by first playing rook to a5. We're attacking the base of the pawn chain, the pawn on e5. However, it seems that white could just play f4 and protect the pawn. Now black must play one of the two moves. Either the pawn move to f6 in order to apply the pressure on the pawn on e5, or what played in the game and to my eyes is even more beautiful, g5. Here, white is unable to enjoy a good position after taking this pawn, as black will simply take this with a check, subsequently take the pawn on g5, and simply be a pawn up. However, if we go back, after the move g5, it seems that white could just extend their pawn chain with the move pawn to g3. And here black has another very beautiful move that applies the pressure on the pawn chains of white. f6. It turns out that white doesn't have many good options here. In fact, all of them lead to worse position. Let's take a look at all of them. For example, if they take the pawn on f6, which seems to be free right now, we would be taking the pawn on f4, and what you can see is a very bad pawn structure for white. Essentially, they have four weak pawns. We could play something like king f7 here, and we have many easy targets that we could attack with our pieces. For example, if bishop takes h7, rook to h5, a double attack, bishop to d3, and here we can check and subsequently continue playing against the three remaining weak pawns. Essentially, our own pawns, the e6 and b7, are safe as the bishop is guarding one and the king is near to guard the other one. Perhaps the only weak we have is on a3, but since we have only one weak pawn and they have three, this position is much better for black. In fact, with the correct play, black should be winning. Let's go back. Let's go back to the point where we play g5, and let's take a look at alternatives for white. Sorry, f6. Here, what they could choose is also taking on g5. However, after this option, it's similar to what we had before. We can take on e5 with a check and subsequently take on e5, where not only black is a pawn up, but also the pawn on d6 itself is weak. And it turns out there are really not that many other moves and options that white could play here. We have a very simple threat of they're just damaging the pawn structure with the attacks on e5 and f4, and black enjoys a wonderful game. I hope to enjoy this exercise where black develops initiative from a seemingly a bad position from the first glance. If you did, you can subscribe to my chess channel for more such lessons. You can also consider hiring me as your personal chess coach. My contacts are on the right. That's my full-time job. Send me an email if you're interested, and see you in a week in the next video. Thank you so much.